Well, part two. This is a very normal thing in this family where I have to make multiple parts of videos because I can't get privacy around here. But yeah, after firing 2 volleys, the gunmen break into the truck only to be promptly shot dead by Mike. So they think they got the guy. They're shooting up the vehicle. Mike comes out like this badass character that these creators are trying to kind of develop him into being, and he shoots him dead. So only after he steps out of the truck does Mike find that one bullet has grazed his right ear. Obviously, probably the adrenaline from getting shot. You don't necessarily feel it at first. So yeah, that's a way to explain. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting way to open the show. Maybe they're used to dealing with stuff like this, which is why Mike has to travel with the driver. But yeah, Walter and Skylar are trying to make a show of their own, make a story of their own within a show. I thought it was very interesting. Walter and Skylar prepare an elaborate story about Walter having a gambling addiction and a successful card counting method. So it's pretty believable. Walter's a very smart character in the story. They'll probably believe him when he says, "Oh, I figured out this algorithm on how to win every single time in this game." I mean, I think that's really cool. And I think that's a good excuse, really. They hope it will explain how they can pay for Hank's medical bills and purchase a car wash that will actually be used to launder Walter's meth profits. So, yeah. It's kind of interesting how it works. Yeah. I don't know. Hank being a prideful guy, being a part of the DEA, being kind of this badass character in the show, I don't know how he's going to accept his medical bills being paid by a guy that's gambling. I don't know. That feels kind of like a sketchy thing to me while I was watching it. I kind of questioned it at first. But yeah, Walter remains too distracted to put much effort into the charade and is worried how Walter Jr. will perceive him, because Walter Jr. is going to be here. They're going to be talking to the Schraders. He's going to be there with them. They're kind of going to have a family reunion, like a family friend dinner type of thing. And they're going to tell him about the Walter's gambling addiction, and Walter Jr. is going to be there. So it's interesting to see how this goes down. We'll get to that in a little bit. During a family dinner at Hank and Marie, Skylar and White and Walter tell everyone the gambling addiction story, but Hank and Walter Jr. turned out to be impressed by it. They're impressed. They're not mad. They're not like, "Oh my God, how dare you get into gambling?" They're like, "Holy shit, Dad. Holy shit, brother-in-law. You're kind of a badass for this. This is really cool that you figured this out. You used your smarts for something to get somewhere in life for once." And they really thought it was cool. Later, Walter is shocked to learn that Hank is investigating Gail's murder. So they're talking in the room after this whole confession was made. It's kind of crazy, They're talking, and Hank's like, "Yeah, I'm investigating this Gail Botticher's murder," or something like that. Hank says that he believes that Gail is the elusive Heisenberg and expresses regret that he was not able to arrest him. He's a little late to the party, but we know who Heisenberg is. It's not Gail. Hank is not onto something. He's hitting a dead end in this investigation. Maybe not, though. I mean, Gail is connected to Walter. Who is Heisenberg? Former partners in the meth lab, former lab assistant, yada yada yada. And I don't know how it could be Heisenberg anyways, because Heisenberg's bald. When asked by Hank to read about a chemical process written in Gail's lab notes, Walt notices a line from a Walt Whitman poem in a dedication. "WW, my star, my perfect silence." Walt Whitman, How I Learned the Astronomer, or whatever the poem was called, he's the one that wrote that poem, so that's what WW stands for. When Hank mentions the initials matching Walt jokingly admits, "You got me," before telling Hank that WW refers to the poet, Walt Whitman. How I Learned the Astronomer, yada yada yada. And so yeah, Hank's like, "Oh shit, WW, that's Walter White as well." So he was on him for a second, but obviously Hank has no idea that Walter's Heisenberg or that he has anything to do with Heisenberg. So it was kind of a scary moment in this episode, but yeah, that's kind of how it went down. When Walt asks Hank about the investigation, he learns that the only leads are some fingerprints and an eyewitness spotted at the scene. So, oh shit, this is a very big moment, because they're like, "Oh my God, they have fingerprints from the scene, and Jesse's the one that shot Gail, so Jesse's under fire by the DEA, he's under fire by Hank again." It's kind of crazy. Hearing about this evidence, Walt is spooked and worries that the police will connect Jesse to the murder. So he's going to have to tell Jesse, hey man, they're after your ass. You better get going. I just talked to my brother-in-law. They have fingerprints. You better go. Walter goes to Jesse's house and is disgusted by its condition, as it is now being used as a drug den by addicts and vagrants. So, Jesse kind of feeling bad for these people, also wanting some company. He's having these drug addicts over to his house. He's throwing these ragers. He's been doing this over and over again, weeks on end, days on end, 3-day stretches of parties, all that stuff. He comes from where they come from, so that's probably why. Jesse is adamant nothing can connect him to Gale's murder, but when he is asked if he picked up the shell casing from the gun, which could have his fingerprints on it, it is revealed he did not. If the gun obviously was already loaded for him, then no, he wouldn't be tracked. Whoever loaded the gun would be tracked and would get in trouble, but I'm pretty sure Jesse loaded the gun and shot him. I'm not sure though. Maybe plot twist at the end of the season, Walt's fingerprints are on the damn gun casings and they find him. This investigation's probably going to last for most of the season if I had to guess. Yeah. When he is further questioned about the murder, Jesse starts to panic due to the memory of it and pays 2 druggies to kick Walter out of the house. So he's kind of blackmailing people into taking some stress off of him, staying with him, doing all these things. Jesse seems very, very dependent at this point in the show, and it's very interesting as we see how his mourning, how his grieving is going to unfold. Walter later laments to Saul about how the meth business is falling apart because no one is acting professionally and rejects an offer to go into hiding. So even Gus Fringe, the guy that we thought was like the big mastermind at the beginning when we first met him, he's kind of starting to like, he's kind of starting to lose his professionalism that he was at the start, the savagery, the chess games. Walter's like, if people can't act professional, we're going to have to stop selling meth because the authorities are going to be on our asses. Jesse detached complacence eventually leads to all of his meth money being stolen from his house, but Mike quickly recovers it and warns Jesse that he's on thin ice. Mike's like, look man, you better get the fuck out of here or else they're going to get you, or else you're fucking done. And if you don't come with me, I'm going to have to drag you along with me, that type of thing. Jesse is apathetic about the loss and recovery, leading Mike to tell Gus that Jesse's lack of professionalism is a problem for the organization and they must intervene. Mike tells Gus, he's like, look, this Jesse guy's going off the deep end. We need to get rid of him. We need to make sure he's not associated with us anymore. He doesn't come near us. Please get rid of this guy. He is ruining our organization. He is one of the main he's blaming this on, he's blaming Jesse on Gus not being professional, Gus, even though Gus just flat out killed his assistant like 3 or 4 episodes ago. Jesse does not show up to the lab the next day, and Walter realizes that he has been kidnapped. He shows up to the camera. He's like, oh my god, where's Jesse at? You better tell me, Gus. The episode ends with Mike driving Jesse to an unknown destination, and this is kind of the cliffhanger, what we're going to be left off with. When he asks Jesse if he would like to know where they are going, the only reply is a simple nope. Jesse's like, alright, I'm along with the ride, I'm gonna comply, okay? This episode's not that bad. Obviously, there's not really a bad Breaking Bad episode. It's probably in the bottom 5 for worst episodes, but there's not any bad episodes in the series. I would say it's an 8 out of 10. It's a solid building block for future storylines. It's very oddly structured, but never an uninteresting episode when you're watching it. A lot of people think it's a phenomenal episode. It's an A-, it's a high A, whatever. A lot of people have different views, but that's pretty much going to do it for the review of the episode. I don't think it's that bad. It's just on the worst end of the episodes. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more better episodes than this one, but I'm out. My mouth hurts. I need to give